Welcome back to the channel, everyone. And this is a little bit different than the shorts I typically post, but we're just gonna go ahead here and wing it. So in today's video, we are gonna be talking about 5 things I wish somebody had told me before I was 20 years old. These ideas, they might be already inside of your subconscious mind. And like I said, you might already know of them, but I'm here to kind of re-jolt them inside of that paradigm so you can remember them and start implementing maybe some of these tips into your life, because I know they definitely help me on a day-to-day basis when it comes to being productive. So number 1, don't blame other people for putting you into a bad mind state. Now, what I mean is this: maybe you are in a relationship or you have that family member that knows how to say something to you that just puts you off. Next thing you know, you're in an argument, and later that day, you completely regret just blowing up on that person. So the way to handle that is to not blame them for putting you in that state of mind. If somebody says something to you or does an action towards you that basically elicits that response, you need to ask yourself why you're having that response. And once you start taking major accountability for these types of emotions appearing in your life, you'll start to learn how to control them and actually have them less often. And that's one of the major keys to actually being successful in this competitive environment that exists, is you have to be able to control your emotions, especially when it comes to your work. You can't be sad 1 minute and then you decide you're not going to work because you're feeling sad. Like, we're humans, we're going to have emotions, but don't let them overtake you. Number 2, try Instagram withdrawal. Now, for me specifically, it was Instagram. For you, maybe it's Snapchat or TikTok, YouTube even potentially. And if that's the case, then I strongly recommend that you withdraw from this social media platform, whether it be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It's up to you. You can even do 10 days if you want. I would recommend at least 30 days because that's a really good detox period. So 30 days, and you can't just usually rely on yourself to stay off it. You have to delete the platform from your phone, okay? It's something that I come through. It's like cycles when I notice that I'm letting my mind get too distracted from the scroll on Instagram. But what I like to do is actually delete the app from my phone. And then if I need to go on Instagram at all to service any of my clients, because I own a digital marketing agency, I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on this channel, but if I need to go on Instagram to look at my own page or look at any of my clients' pages to make sure everything is being managed properly, I'll actually do it from my laptop. Now, when it comes to posting from my laptop, I have other people that do that for me. But if I really need to post something by myself, then yes, I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll re-download the app to do the post and then delete it again. But typically I'm not the one doing the posting because I know that posting from Instagram on your computer isn't optimal, but really you would be surprised on 1, how much time it cuts out of you scrolling through your phone, and 2, for the first month, if you've never done this before, for the first month, you're gonna notice that you subconsciously go to your phone and try and open the app multiple times, even after you've deleted it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I noticed this, that was a major red flag for me. So again, whatever social media platform it may be, just try to take a break from it and detox. It's really good for your mind and you'll come back better than ever. Tip number 3 is work on your self-development. Now, I'm not gonna be like a self-development junkie or other people out there that say, self-development over everything and all they do is read books and they take no action. No, we don't do that here. What I'm trying to say is really prioritize just essentially working on your mind as often as possible, but you want to make sure that you're facilitating action, especially when you really don't want to do something. You better do it because that's when you really need to do it. And then before you know it, you're going to find that, hey, why didn't I just do this before? This is easy. And once it hits 90 days, it becomes a habit and it gets to the point where you can't live without doing it. okay? Habits and discipline are very important for being successful in any endeavor you decide to choose in your life. But let's just walk back a little bit. So briefly, I just want to mention again, working on self-development, it's so important. Whether it be reading books for you or listening to an audiobook or just literally getting out like a notebook or taking notes on your computer and just asking yourself questions, like journaling. Get inside of your mind and figure out what's going on in there, especially books. Now, I know some people, they don't read books. That's fine. You don't have to read books. I personally love to read books sometimes just because there's so much information in them. There's so much things you can learn from other people who have lived before us. And that's kind of an advantage to you because they've already learned a lesson, so you can learn from them. A lot of people can't do that though, because they've got to learn the hardest way possible to actually understand the lesson. But if you are smart enough to go and learn from other people's mistakes, I highly recommend you do it. Tip number 4, that is to have a photographic memory. The funny thing about memory is that it's not something that you're born with and you're stuck with it the exact way for the rest of your life. Your memory is actually trained. If you're the type of person that says, I am so bad with people's names, I can't remember them. First of all, stop telling yourself that because it's not true. Second of all you have to do is literally train your mind because your mind is so powerful to remember people's names. But just go out there, meet some new people, ask what their name is. And then some little hacks you can use is repeat their name back to them like almost instantly in that conversation that you're having with them. Just be like, let's say their name is Jim. Oh, hi, what's your name? Jim. Okay, all right, thanks, Jim. Jim, what do you think about the weather today? Something like that. Also, repeat the person's name in your mind a few times, like especially after you walk away from them. While you're walking away, say their name in your mind a few times because this is gonna help the building blocks of remembering what that person's name is. So essentially, this can also be taking a step further from just memorizing people's names. I personally have taken it a step further and I've started telling myself, like I said 3 or 4 years ago, that I have a photographic memory. I actually didn't believe it at first, but then I started watching content and watching teachers teach instead of taking notes. And I realized that I learned so much better when I watch something. And if you put something in front of my face, like when it comes to numbers or it comes to just a picture, like a visual, it'll lock as a snapshot inside of my head and I can remember it for a long time. So again, try to incorporate this tip into your mindset. I promise it is probably one of the most valuable things I've ever done for myself, and it should be good for you too. Tip number 5, and this is the final tip of them all for today, and that's going to be to remain distant. Now, sometimes you got to be loud, especially when it means getting your brand out there, because you want people to know who you are, what you do, etc. But there's an art to remaining distant. When you show up too much in someone's life that you want to establish value with, what happens is they kind of get stuck with the law of familiarity. So essentially they get used to you is what I'm trying to say. You want to avoid that as much as possible, especially when it comes to figures that you want to, again, establish value with. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but this is very important when it comes to really building yourself in your career. And this was a major lesson that I had to learn because I used to put myself out there so much for people. But when it comes to making your appearances, make them briefly, make them abruptly. That's gonna make the attention be put on you so much more when you start showing up a whole lot less. Now, I know that sounds so contradictory to what a lot of people are gonna tell you. You must show up every single day. You must this, you must be there. It's not necessarily the truth when you really look back at history and you start looking in terms of, okay, like how can I become more powerful? How can I become more relevant? How can I garner more attention? So that's the 5 tips I have for you all. I'm gonna just post them right over here so you can get another look at everything we covered today. Feel free to go back, look at the tips again in case there's something that you want to rewatch. If you have any questions about anything we covered in this video, drop a comment down below, ask away, let me know what else you want to see. I would love to have you all come along this journey with me, and I'll see you in the next video.